Police helicopters circled the warehouse as several SWAT trucks and police vehicles sat outside. Dozens of police officials swarmed around the building making plans and carrying out orders. Inside the building, a young woman watched over her captive. "Why are you doing this?" the man asked his captor. The woman stood near the window staring down at the circus of police that was surrounding the building. "Shut up," she said without looking at the man. The young woman watched intently as one of the officers below produced a bullhorn and began to address her. "This is Police Chief Gordon Stacy. We want to resolve this without incident. Please send out your hostage and surrender immediately," the man said and waited for some kind of reply. The woman inside turned from the window and picked her captive up off the floor by his neck. The man struggled and choked as she walked with him in tow back to the window. "Happy landings, Mr. Hess," she said before heaving the man out the window, sending him crashing into the police car. The chief stood behind several stories below. "My God, she just killed him without hesitating," the chief thought to himself before speaking into his bullhorn again. "Diapered dandy, you leave us no choice but to use lethal force on you," he said and gave the sign to open fire on the warehouse. "Bring it on," Jessica thought to herself as the bullets began to assault the warehouse. 2 days earlier, Jessica and Hannah stood back to back in the center of the woods of Perez Park. They were currently surrounded by several of the gelatinous blob monsters of the Hydra that called Perez Park home. "I'll take the 20 on the left, you take the 20 on the right?" Hannah asked with a smile. Jessica returned her smile. "You know how I like it," she said before diving into the center of the mob with an energy punch that burst a hole through one of the Hydra minions. Hannah melted a few with a radiation blast and took to the air to dodge their slimy blob counterattacks. Hannah and Jessica had been working together for a little over a week and a half, and had become fast friends. In the short amount of time they'd been working alongside one another, they'd grown to anticipate each other's moves, and had become a cohesive fighting unit. "You're falling behind," Hannah shouted as another of her enemies melted away and she saw that Jessica was still working on a sizable group. "We can't all vaporize a group with one attack, some of us actually have to do work," Jessica shouted back with a smile as she plowed a stony foot through another foe. Jessica and Hannah sat on a bench near the lake in the park after the fight, as they often did, and talked about the highlights of the day's bouts and other things. "So I was thinking, would you maybe want to team up on a more permanent basis?" Hannah blurted out suddenly. "You mean like become partners?" Jessica asked. "Sort of, I have a team, and I want you to join us," Hannah said with a smile. Jessica smiled back. "I'd be honored," she said. Hannah stood up slowly and then blasted into the sky. "You can only join if you can keep up with me," she shouted behind her as she flew off. "Cheetah!" Jessica yelled as she took to the air and raced after Hannah, the pair laughing happily as they glided over the city. Hannah led Jessica to a glowing cylinder of black and blue light under the overpass in Skyway City. "Here we are," she said. "What's that thing?" Jessica asked as she stared at the cylinder. "It's a base teleporter. All supergroup bases have teleport beacons in the different area of the city. Essentially they teleport us to the base, and depending on which one we enter in the base, it'll take us anywhere in the city we want to go. It saves us having to fly all over the place all the time," Hannah explained. "Neat," Jessica said with a smile. Hannah nodded and grabbed Jessica's hand tightly and put her other hand to the cylinder. The cylinder began to hum and an electronic voice asked Hannah the name of her supergroup. "Freedom Phalanx Reserve, Rise of the Phoenix," Hannah answered. A bright light washed over the pair and the world disappeared around them.